you can get a second device. That could be your NFT crypto phone. And you should have separation between those two because one is financial, one is not. But a large part of the world is not stuck in iPhone land. And 80% of the mobile sales actually are outside of the US. You're not like banned from dating apps if you have a green bubble. Like for most of the rest of the world, Android, it works well. Right now, Seeker is at like about 150,000 pre-orders. And there's a bunch of work that's done in Seeker to make it more like Apple Pay. When we sold 20,000 phones, I didn't see a path to sell to 1 million, but I saw a path to sell 150,000 units. And now that we sold 150,000 units, there is a path to sell to 1 million, but I don't know how the hell we're going to sell 10 million units. But you just do it one step at a time.
My question is, why would the company behind one of the fastest growing blockchain networks, Solana, launch a mobile phone?
Well, Labs is like a place to go like build companies and startups, and then they get spun out. Like Metaplex, the whole NFT standard, that was one. And there are founders that join Labs and then get hooked on something, and then they go build their own company. So that kind of happens all the time. But mobile was like my baby, and it's because I work at Qualcomm for such a long time. And it kind of, as soon as I started taking crypto seriously, my like kind of instinct was like, there is a whole stack for secure element and trusted display embedded in these chips that was developed like 10 years ago at this point, for making cryptographic signatures be as secure as a ledger. So all this technology is available in your phone. There's no reason not to surface it. It's just there's not enough demand or adoption or like whatever happening in the normal kind of financial industry to where crypto is accepted yet. So my thought was that there is an opportunity to make something better for users, so a more secure, kind of slicker signing experience, and an opportunity to make something for developers, which is, get rid of the 30% fees. You have a crypto-friendly app store. That was the thing. And like, the phone is like, this is the tricorder from Star Trek. This is the coolest piece of technology anyone's ever made. It's a whole computer in your hand that's connected to the entire world.
Which means also it's extremely hard to disrupt.
Yeah.
If you have one big winner in the Web2 world, right, in the normal world, or two big winners, it's very hard to disrupt.
So
my question is, I am a Web3 user and lover. I'm not a degen. I buy a new iPhone every 2 to 3 years.
So do I.
Exactly. You have an iPhone. Why should I, or why should you? And you say, this is your baby, right? Why should I, why should you not buy an iPhone this year and get ourselves a Solana Seeker, which you called the definitive Web3 mobile device?
So there's people that are like so plugged into the iPhone ecosystem that they can't switch. Part of that is because a lot of the, at least corporate security is all set up around iPhones. So if you have like a job that has security, like managed software, you're probably stuck in an iPhone. Some support Android, but most of them actually recommend iPhones. But you can get a second device. That could be your NFT crypto phone. And you should have separation between those two because one is financial, one is not. But a large part of the world is not stuck in iPhone land. And 80% of the mobile sales actually are outside of the US. So only 20% of the sales happen in the US. So like the rest of the world is actually much more friendly. You're not like banned from dating apps if you have a green bubble. Like for most of the rest of the world, Android, it works well. And what I see is like right now there's this, like, I think if you waited too long, Apple and Google will eventually add crypto support because I think kind of crypto adoption is inevitable. But until they add it natively, it's an opportunity to kind of create a wedge and onboard a bunch of crypto users to a new platform. And if right now Seeker is at like about 150,000 pre-orders, and that's very like, it's a sizable developer ecosystem. But if it gets to like 1 million plus, then I think it's long-term sustainable. And then it would be hard to actually disrupt that.
So it's basically if you're a crypto user and you want to have a much more secure phone, get that as a second phone where you do all your crypto stuff on, and you are much less likely to get hacked or to lose your crypto.
You should use it, for hot wallets especially. Like for cold storage, I would recommend you use a hardware wallet or like a combination of, if you really geek out on it, use 3 different hardware wallets, squads, multi-sig, then you have redundancy across a bunch of stuff. Cold storage is separate, right? Like you should always have a cold and hot separation, but for hot wallets, you're still under kind of this constant threat vector. Every time you sign something, it could be a malicious transaction. The app store model, like why are apps more secure than like websites, is that there's moderation and curation, and that reduces a whole bunch of threat vectors. The single key phrase that is managed by the SeedVault and not re-entered between all these applications, that's another way to reduce a whole bunch of threat vectors. So like,
you mentioned SeedVault. The Solana Seeker has something called SeedVault, which is powered by the crypto wallet Solflare. What the hell is SeedVault, and what is Solflare doing in this equation?
So when you look at like mobile crypto apps right now, there's this weird tension between the app wanting to have great user experience and asking users to create an in-app wallet that's specific to the app. And your standard wallet, like Phantom or whatever, that's your central wallet, and then having to switch between the two. So having to cross applications, all this stuff, or God forbid, people take the seed phrase that they use in Phantom and enter it in the app as well. So now they've risked their entire crypto portfolio that's in Phantom to this application. Don't do that. Do not share your seed phrase between apps or wallets. So the SeedVault is this piece attack that keeps that seed phrase secure, but the wallet can be shared between applications. So you're not dealing with this kind of thing. So the goal is to have like the first Saga device has this implemented. The UX is clunky, and there's a bunch of work that's done in Seeker to make it more like Apple Pay. So you literally, like when you sign, kind of looks and feels like Apple Pay.
What's the role of Solflare in that?
They're an awesome wallet company that the mobile guys thought was like the best to partner with. So they're providing the technology and kind of the deep integration.
What's the end goal with the Solana Mobile?
To disrupt the duopoly. So
that's a good one.
I think like that would be a massive success. A single participant can, like even a small one, can change the market equilibrium. So right now, Apple and Google are not competing hard enough to where they're like really trying to bring down costs for developers. They're in this, they're all sitting very comfortable taking a 30% fee. When people talk about crypto disrupting a bank that takes, 50 basis points, 30% is 3,000 basis points, a lot. I mean, the goal of mobile is to obviously to succeed as a phone company, and it's hard. And like when we sold 20,000 phones, I didn't see a path to sell to 1 million, but I saw a path to sell 150,000 units. And now that we sold 150,000 units, there is a path to sell to 1 million, but I don't know how the hell we're going to sell 10 million units. But you just do it one step at a time.